Welcome to Lavinia World. Today I'm going to show you how to make a model background for a Thistlehog friend. My name is Monica of HeartcraftPaper. For today's project, I'm going to be using the Thistlehog's from Pink Ink Designs. This is a set of fairly large images. These images would fit perfectly on an A7 or a 5.5 by 7 card. There are two cute Thistlehog's. The first one is a front facing, then you have a profile view of the same Thistlehog. There are also some mushrooms that are supporting, you have two. Then there are some winged keys as well as a lock and a beautiful best friend sentiment. So we're going to be using this to make a card. Now I am going to be using some coloring, but for the most part, this is going to be more about the background than it is about the image itself. Recently, I purchased a pack of paper that gave me the inspiration for what we're about to do. And this beautiful paper that says the forest is dark and full of magic is what inspired me. The colors of the greens and the gold really set off my imagination. Not only that, I figured that this would be perfect for the fairy tale type of imagery, and especially with Halloween, it's beautiful. All right, let's go ahead and start making our background. Again, if you want to pick this up, it's available in the shop, the Thistlehog's from Pink Ink Designs. The first thing we're going to need is an A7 or a 5.5 by 7.5 piece of cardstock. Next, I'm going to bring out my distress oxides. I have forest moss, bundled sage, mowed lawn, and twisted citron. These four colors were the closest that I came to the colors on that imaged cardstock. So what we're going to do is we are going to start with our lightest color, which is the bundled sage. I want to make sure that this particular color lays all the way across my cardstock, this white cardstock. So we're just going to go ahead and start blending. You want to make sure that it does have a full coverage. I didn't necessarily want to go perfect on this, so just make sure that you know it's okay to have a little bit of white spots there. So this is what the blending is going to look like. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. I love the mottled effect that it has because you have that white kind of popping through. So it gives it more of a watercolor feel to it. I'm just going to bring in some of the forest moss. This is a darker green. So this is going to be a little bit more sporadic and spaced out. It's not going to cover the full sheet. So as you see, I'm just going to go through and place color down here and there. And then I'm just going to pounce in some color. Okay, I'm just going to change over my dauber and bring in some mowed lawn. Of course, this is more vibrant, but I am actually placing this around the areas of the forest moss. Now you'll notice I am going around the forest moss, but I'm not necessarily making any specific patterns. You can go ahead and pounce color in as well. Once I have that down, I'm going to bring in some more of the forest moss and just kind of go over lightly over the mowed lawn, just to darken it up just a smidgen. At the very end here, I decided that I didn't want to bring in that twisted citron because I figured it was already light enough that I didn't need that. So what I did is I brought in some grays and blacks. I did want to use the weathered wood, and I did try that, but I didn't find that it gave it much of a difference. So the thing that actually did give me more variation was actually the black soot. So I'm just going to dab in a little bit of gray here and there just to give it a little bit of dimension. But again, I think the black soot worked better. I'm ready to bring in some gold coloring onto this. Now I'm going to be using two different stamps to do this, and they're both from Lavinia. This is the Mini Dots, and the second one is the Mini Stars 2. I'm going to go ahead and use some gold embossing powder for this. All right, so I'm just going to ink this up with embossing ink, and I'm going to allow it to kind of sit messily onto the stamp because I do want it to create a little bit of splotchiness as well. So I'm going to press hard, but what I am going to do is I'm going to be a little bit more sporadic with this and just allow it to kind of have sprinkles everywhere. Okay, so here you see that beautiful shine that the paper has, and you can see where I have stamped in some of these dots, but there's this patches and some splotchiness that add a lot of character to this paper. So let's go ahead and move on and get some of these stars on here. With the stars, I am being a little bit more careful with not smudging it as much, just because that allows to have some of that sharpness, but you have a clean image of the stars. And I think this is beautiful. Here you have a look, and you can see that kind of shine and shimmer going on in that green background, and absolutely lovely. It does look a little bit like camo, but that's okay. I love the colors. All right, so we are now ready to start coloring the image in. I stamped it out twice just to make sure we get some really good lines there. One of the things that I did with this image, typically I like utilizing a lot of colors and doing a lot of depth. I went in with light colors into this particular image. Now I'm not going into details as to how I colored them, but I will list all of the colors that I used in the description below, as well as on my blog. So if you have any questions, you can always message me and I will go ahead and answer those. But for this particular image, I wanted to go light and kind of airy just because I feel like it's more mystical or kind of fairy tale-ish. So I love those light colors, and that background being dark and foresty just will make this image kind of stand out. Okay, so here is the image now ready to go. As you can see, I picked pinks, greens, and browns for this particular image. All that's left now is to go ahead and cut this out. As this is being cut out, I'm just making sure that I leave about a 1/8 inch border away from any of the edges of the actual image itself. Just be careful and mindful of any corners as well as you're rounding. Just take your time. All right, I have the second largest of the scallop pinpoint circle cutout from Memory Box. I like this die because of the pinpoint images you're gonna get when you die cut. So let's go ahead and get this ready. Okay, here is my base already cut out, and this is where my sentiment is going to go. You can see all the little pinpoint details on this. It's absolutely lovely. I love all the shine this has. All right, I'm gonna bring in my card base. I'm gonna use this as a guide for my stamp. This is the best friend sentiment, and it fits absolutely perfect right in the middle of that circle there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and stamp this out in black ink. Yes, I know black ink is very simple and just plain in ink itself, but that's fine. I really didn't want it to detract too much from my background because I want all those gold tones to kind of pop. Again, this will also match in with the color theme that I picked, which was the green, black, you have white, and it matches that paper very well. And see, it's perfect. With everything ready, it's time to start building the card. I'm going to use 1-inch foam tape as well as a 1/4-inch foam tape. I like the fact that I have this 1-inch foam tape for larger areas and spaces. It just offers me quite a bit of stability, especially with cards like this. So I'm just going to line the back of my card. So here's a nice little tip for you. When I line the entire back of my cards, I'll pull away the foam tape coverings on the center of the card. What I'll do is lay down the corners of the side ones. This will give me some buffer as I go ahead and place my card down. Here you see the little tab sticking out. That allows me some wiggle room. What I'll do is I'll line up the corner that has the exposed tape and make sure that that goes down first, and then move on to the next corner and make sure that that lines up, and I'll press down firmly. Now it's just a matter of pulling those tabs out and adhering the card fully down. For the Thistlehog, I think this is the perfect placement for it. I want it just above the sentiment, as if though it's dropping in that message. I'm going to line the back of the image with some foam tape to give it a little bit of height. Just make sure that when you're lining the back of the image that you add additional support to the wings and some of the smaller areas. For the finishing touch to my card, I'm going to go ahead and add some black sequins. These are a black matte sequin. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line them with some dots and then adhere them down. Typically, I like utilizing the rule of 3 where you put 3 groupings together, but I'm just going to lay this out sporadically. All right, here is the card all finished up. It's got a lot of detail in the color. You have that shine from the gold, as well as the detail from the sequins, and it's not overpowering the image. Thank you for watching the Linear World. Don't forget to subscribe to get more videos and tutorials like these. Visit the shop at www.thelinearworld.com.